Hello, everyone. Hello, Paula.
Hello. Hi. I was wondering if you could hear me. How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you. We have a few members here, and I'd like to ask everyone to turn on the microphone, please. If you're not speaking, of course, but feel free to ask some questions, Paula, after we will start and introduce the community and the opportunity for Ukrainians. Yes.
Okay.
So, Paula, tell us please more about your organization, Founders, and how it helps to business owners in Portugal, and which help Ukrainian community can also receive, and what should we do for that?
Great. Are we ready to start? Are we starting? Is that it? Do you want to wait a few more minutes for anyone else to join?
Yeah, I guess that we can start, because if someone will join us later, it's okay, because we have a recording. And
okay, and you can share. Okay. I've actually done a very, short slides that we have. Maybe that will make it easier to help explain what is Founders, and how we're helping the communities, and how I think we can help, at least try to help the Ukrainian community. So let me try and open this. See if you can see it. Is screen sharing is working? Okay. So as a mean of introduction, I am one of the 5 people that created Founders, the community. The story is there were 5 startups incubated in the Porto's largest incubation center called UP Tech, which you may come across, as they are sort of relevant to the businesses and the new businesses in Portugal. One of the rules of UP Tech is that you have to leave after the initial incubation period that you run there, which is about 3 years. And so we all had to move somewhere, and we did not want to leave the community. So we were creating a community, but just by talking to each other and helping each other on a daily basis on anything around business. And so what we decided to do was come together and, as a group, find a place, and then get our 5 companies to move into a new place. And then we had a problem, which we couldn't find any place. Either it was too small or it was too big. And so what we decided as entrepreneurs was, let's go and get a place that is too big, and then get more companies and more people to come and join us. And with that, we started, okay, maybe this is the time to start to build a community, and the aim to be the biggest community of entrepreneurs and founders in Portugal, which was really missing at the time. It then expanded into, to also try to include not just the Portuguese community, but also, worldwide, as many people as possible, but mostly with some sort of Portuguese connection, okay? Because there are many communities, there must be a reason why this particular group comes together. And it is around the fact that there's some way a relationship with Portugal, one way or another. So this started around 2014. And so we've been around since 2015. We officially started the community in 2015. We got a first building, a house where people moved into. And we recently expanded into new buildings. We have a partnership with also a member of the community that runs a founder's house in Lisbon. And we have 2 buildings in Porto, and we had an inauguration scene, we had a bunch of stuff. But the point is, we do think that this is the newest building we've opened in Porto right before the pandemic, so it's a slow start. But we're really trying to gather the startup and entrepreneurs communities in Portugal. These are some of the companies that are either resident or are part of the community. And there's over 80 people from mostly startups, including the largest ones like Talkdesk or Blip or Venium or Farfetch, many others, as well as the ones that are just starting out. for the community members, we then provide a bunch of partnerships, including some credits from the partnerships we've created with Amazon AWS, with Google, with DigitalOcean, with our legal partner in Portugal, with HubSpot, a bunch of, just because we have volume and scale. And we, as part of our activities, we've always ran peer-to-peer mentorships. This means it's not like a mentor and a pupil. It's really two founders or two entrepreneurs helping each other. The community here and Founders role is to connect the dots, is to hear who needs help and find someone who can help and then put them together. There is no commercial aspect to this activity. It's simply something that helps and everyone needs help. We are in 3 different places, I was saying, and then we run events on a regular basis, and the events are now coming back. And specifically 5 events. One is a direct feedback to the entrepreneurs. So if anyone has any project or idea, it presents that idea, project, or problem they have in their company to a group of entrepreneurs, and they get feedback. And we call that the no bullshit feedback, meaning it's going to be sincere, it's going to be honest, it's not going to hold back on why someone thinks it's the wrong thing to do. And there's always wrong things in the plans people have. And then we have a bunch of other networking events, okay, like sales and growth, marketing, technology talks, and just meetups in general. So this is really all I have. This is to give you the background of Founders. Mm-hmm. The second part to this was we've always been, of course, sort of wanting to help beyond just the community and the founders. When I'll give you just an example, when the pandemic with COVID first started, it was this community who created an organization called Tech for COVID-19 in Portugal that gathered around 5,000 people to create technology to help that particular situation. That's sort of put on pause. Thankfully, that problem has been alleviated. With the Ukrainian crisis happening, we've been very attentive to see what can we do, But unlike the COVID situation, we don't know what to do. We don't really know how to help. And we are honest, like no full bullshit feedback, we're very transparent people. We really don't know. And we also think there's a lot of attempts to help. But I don't think a lot of the people who try to do something actually know what they're doing. And so I've been keeping an eye out personally, because I've been put in charge of, from Founders, looking after this this area. And when the opportunity came to find someone who could actually tell me how we can help, this became the time. Like because there's many ways people can help. We always think, how can Founders and the community help in a different way than anyone else can, right? And I think it's about supporting any business-led or business side of incubation, or setting new things up, setting a new project, things that are more harder to do for anyone else to do, right? So this is where we're sort of doing it. We're the specialists in a way. And so this is the area we are, I think, more comfortable in offering our help. And so that's the reason I'm here today, and that's the reason I'm talking. I'm really to learn how we can help. What are the problems your community is facing? And I don't have solutions yet, but this is the first step to think, what solutions could we create together? Because it can't just be, founders thinking of solutions. It has to be both communities together. How can we create solutions? And how can we use the assets that we have, which are potentially the buildings, potentially the network, the community, the companies themselves that we have in the community, to address the specific problems that we can find. And you can tell me or tell us, well, how do you think we can make that happen?
Yeah, thank you very much for this introduction. And can I ask a few questions, and maybe after, of course, our members also can ask their questions. Tell me, please, I want to understand the mechanic, how new members are coming into your community.
normally, so this is not to say this is how it will work with in this situation with Ukrainian communities, because I don't think it's applicable. But normally, to get into the founders community, you either move into one of the buildings and you become a resident, or if you are a founder CEO of a startup, then you get invited to become part of the club, which is simply saying a networking group of people that have a WhatsApp group, that have, go to the events together and help each other.
But
Without
they don't pay for being in
no,
the community, right?
no, not in the normal sense. No, not in the direct community. We have events and we have activities that then need to be paid for. But just to belong to the community, only if you're a resident. If you're a resident and you move into and you have an office space, then you pay for the office space. Yes.
And you have two buildings, one in Porto and the second is in Lisbon.
We have,
right?
we have two in Porto and one in Lisbon through a partnership with one of the founders' community members that took that, and he's running that building. So it's sort of a partnership as well. Yeah.
Great. And maybe you have some, I don't know, meeting plan or some events plan that you provide to your...
That could be one way for sure, and to invite you to come to those events. Because of the pandemic situation that we've just had until I think now, we have sort of suspended most of the events, in-person events. And so we are now reopening them, and we don't have a plan, like the yearly plan. And so we usually book them 2 weeks in advance, okay? When they're bigger, like a sale, we have a sales event that was lasting a whole week. That was booked maybe a month or two in advance. And so as soon as we get new events coming, I think we can, of course, we can share. They're public. I mean, we can look them up. But I also think it may be more relevant that we could perhaps create an event specifically for this situation.
Of course, yes.
It depends on, my objective is also to understand what are the concrete challenges you're facing. Yeah. And depending on that, we may have a different type of event or a different side of solution. Maybe the event is not the right thing. Maybe it's a virtual event. Maybe it's something else, right?
But as we see now, it is only 13 members, participants in our Zoom meeting, even if in these entrepreneurs groups, more than 1,400 people. And that means that Ukrainian guys sometimes are not ready to participate in English-speaking events, maybe because of that. Maybe they are shy, maybe they are in their meetings, and sometimes they lose opportunities. And my mission is to give them understanding that they are in new country and they have to understand the local rules. Yes, and you are the best. You as a community, I mean, and not only others who are local, the best way to communicate and understand everything inside. Yes,
for sure. And also it is a small country, meaning it's relatively easy for our community to help in reaching certain people, reaching certain groups, because it's just a small country. I think I'd love to understand, and they say, okay, there's only 13 people, there's way more people, of course, that are in Portugal. So I think it will be interesting if those people, if they want to ask exactly what the questions they have, what help they think they need, and if you work as a facilitator in aggregating that information or those requests and share them directly with me. And with that, we start to understand what are the biggest ones. And if, for example, there may be some very practical ones like taxes. I know in Portugal, it's a boring topic, but it's a common question. And we've been through this many times in the beginning as well. So it's the same problem. It's not because you come from abroad that you have a question around taxes. Like when we start a business here and we're from here, we have the same questions. We don't know how it works. So we ask each other. And so it's absolutely normal. So from those simple things to processes, Portugal is a bit of a bureaucratic country. I'm sure you've realized. But if you do the things according to what the rules are in a way, things tend to go quickly. It's all about, it's hard is just to know what even that you have to do. That's the hardest part. And I think there is also some initiatives to facilitate new openings, new processes to make them quicker. But I don't think they're, completely finished yet. So anything, it could be those questions. It could be sort of more fundamental questions like setting up a company.
Yes, that is one of our question. Setting up a company and maybe choose not only Portugal, but choose in which country we should open company to work.
Of course.
In Portugal and with Ukraine as well, and with other countries. And this decision is crucial. We need to do it correctly, because if we do some wrong thing, we have to rebuild everything after.
Yeah. And look, I'm not knowing specific questions. If your community is mostly around building a company or bringing a company or starting something new, there are some fundamental advice that I could provide, like generally speaking, which is the advice we provide to anyone starting, regardless where they come from, which is not setting a company is not always necessary. Okay. And so what I've done in the past and what I always recommend is have a look at the other options that you have. So you can have an individual, like a freelance service, and then you could upgrade to a single person company, which has much less responsibilities. And then you get into a normal, regular partnership company, and then you could go in. So opening a company has disadvantages, and there are some things that are not easily known. For example, if you open a company, you're going to become the director of that company. Even if you don't want to pay yourself a salary, the Social Security in this country doesn't really care, and you're going to have to declare income even if you don't get paid. And so you're going to have a tax immediately just because those things happen. On the other hand, if you start as an independent freelancer, you have 12 months of exemption. You don't have to pay Social Security for 12 months. So there are a lot of benefits of starting even before having a company, starting as a freelancer. So those sort of things are, our bread and butter. That's the sort of
but there are some limits, sorry for interrupting you. There are some limits of the amount of money which you can receive being a private entrepreneur, right?
Not that I know of, no. It will start not to make sense, financially, because you'll pay taxes as a personal income. So there's a point where, from a tax perspective, it doesn't make sense anymore because your tax bracket will go up and the company taxes are lower. But I would say that's when you start to think, now I need to set up a company. But you can set up a company in a relatively easy way here. You can even do it online, or at least start the process online. So it's a decision you can make at any time. It doesn't have to be the first decision. Okay, you can certainly start in a different path and then get into a new path. The only thing that to work, to get income and to be fiscally legitimate, you have just to issue a tax receipt, and a tax receipt can be issued if you're a freelancer. We call them, the green receipts. I don't know if you've seen that terminology, but it is simply it's an invoice in a way as a freelancer, and that you don't need to pay anyone for that. That can be done directly through the government portal. As soon as you are able to register and log in, you'll be able to do that. And so you don't even have to have like invoicing software or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. And tell me, please, are your members only IT startups, or it is also companies which have just offline business like stores and some trading?
So this community is specialized, not specialized, but it's a community of startups, really. So meaning they are companies that have an ambition to grow a lot and to grow quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And so almost by that definition, a traditional business that has physical retail stores is not going to be a startup, because that is not, that business model is well proven. The startups that are usually models that are not well proven. Um, and those in turn tend to be very technological, right? They tend to be tech companies. But they're not necessarily all the traditional tech companies. So, thinking a little bit differently, you have companies like, e-commerce, which is technology, but also retail. You have like Dot, for example, and Vorten now, they're there. You have pet food. So we have Barkin, like one of the members. They're technology, but they're really a brand, right? They're a consumer brand. You have supermarket delivery, like Mercadão and Glovo. They're there, so they're not the typical
They
tech. They're
have
not.
application. They also IT.
They have, they have, but their core is not building technology. Their core is building operations or building a retail operation, just differently. Yes, they use technology to their advantage, but they are not a true tech company. Like, for example, InfraSpeak is. So InfraSpeak is one of our founders as well, and he's absolutely technology company. So is mine, which is a digital marketing company. So some of them are true tech, other ones are not, but they use technology. But they're all high growth, so tend to be high growth startups. Yes. But if you want to reach any of the retail companies in Portugal, they're a connection away, right? If there's any need to get to anyone in particular, that's something someone in our community will have connections to or be able to help for sure.
Dear audience, maybe someone wants to ask some specific questions to Paulo and about your situation in business, about your challenges that you face with, and to ask some advice. Yeah.
Hello.
Yes, we're hearing you.
First of all, nice to meet you. And I have a question about how to open a business if I have no experience in Ukraine, for example. I have an idea and I think it's pretty good, but I still don't know the rules of your country. And I'm not sure if this will work with your mentality, with your workers and everything.
Can you share the ideas with us?
Yes, I wanted to make corporate. First of all, I am a yoga teacher, and I wanted to make some community of corporation yoga, like yoga for IT companies. And how I should start it? How I understood, I need to register myself like a freelancer. As you told.
Yes, this is my business advice. The practical parts of things are the least important parts. Okay, so the important part is, how are you thinking about that opportunity and that business? Who is it for? Have you got your first customers already? Have you got your first people that want to pay you for that service? Have you got a product? That's the first step. Everything else is secondary, because I'll give you some examples. Like, if you're starting out, and do you have a customer already? Do you have someone you found that says, yes, I want that and I'll pay for it? Have you reached that point?
Now I'm working from my website, and after that I want to contact with some HR, maybe from different companies,
Okay.
And like, I don't know what I should do first. Register myself.
I understand.
Like
No, you do not register. No, that's a very easy advice. You do not register. You do not do anything until you actually have a customer.
But about the law, for example, if some customer want to work with me and they propose me some, I don't know, like, sorry, forgot the word.
It's okay.
Okay, so somebody agree work with me,
Yep.
and I'm still not registered.
That's fine. You need to be. The issue only comes when you get paid. Okay. So first, get the customer first. Okay. Once you have that, and he's saying yes, I will pay you for this. You can even do the work, but you cannot get paid. The moment you get paid is when the moment you need to be registered. Okay. And you should technically, and this is being recorded, so technically you need to register them and open the activity. So and there's two things. One is registering, and the second is you're saying open your activity. And so because they're two different things. The registration is about getting you. If you don't have a tax ID, you need that could take time. So I would say get that going already. If you don't have one, you need to get one, like a Portuguese tax ID, taxpayer number. That doesn't require registration to activity. This is just anyone and everyone needs to have one to be able to open and register. Okay, so that's the first thing you need to work and get immediately. And I don't know if you're ready, because I know there's some new processes that will facilitate you getting that. So make use of those. At any moment, then you register with a portal, which means you get a login. Okay, and that's the registration with the finances. So you get to say, where your address or other things like that, and you register with the portal. And then there's a particular step that you take, which is to say, I am now working. And that's called opening your activity. And you have to choose from a list of activities, and they're called the table of activities. And I think there's something in there for, I don't know if it's yoga, but there'll be something close enough. And that choice will also dictate some of the rules around your taxes. I'll give you some examples. If you choose a rule, some sort of professions, your VAT that you charge could be different. You may not even charge VAT. You may change the way your tax income is then calculated. So choosing a profession is not just a name; it has implications. So you should get some advice on what is the right one. And the person to advise you on this is always the Portuguese tax office. Okay, so they're the ones who tell you if this is what you want to do, this is the right. Of course, anyone can help you, but officially, you should get some advice from them. Lastly, you get your customer. They're about to pay you. They need to pay you, and they will ask you for a receipt. The moment you need to issue the receipt is when you have to be registered. Registering, okay, if you have your tax ID and if you have access to the tax portal, registration and then issuing the receipt can happen in the same moment. It's all instant. Okay, so you register, you declare opening your activity, and immediately you can issue your receipt. So that last part is easy.
If you don't have banking account yet,
you can get paid in cash. You can get paid in cash, right? It doesn't really matter how you get paid. Okay, and so that's why I say the last part of the process is the least important. And it's also the one that will start the timer on some of the benefits you can get. So I will always leave that to the last minute. Like if you want to hire people, that's going to be needed. So if you want to do a contract with someone to work for you, then you need something because you need to be an entity. You don't need to be a company. Okay, that's another thing people always think, oh, I need to have a company to, hire someone. You do not. You can still be a freelancer and you can do a contract with someone. Okay, you're an employer even without being a company. That can have that.
But you can sign this. Can I ask
of course
a question about this topic also? But you will have the contract hiring this person, which is also a freelancer, or
not necessarily.
It's gonna be your.
It could be your employee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be your employee because we would need more time because this gets complex. But when you register as a freelancer, you have two types, generally speaking, two types of freelancing. One is what you expect, like a normal freelancing, and the other one, it's more called I'm trying to translate it. It's almost like you're an independent sort of director. It's not the right term, but in that capacity, you can contract people, and they will behave as an employee. You are the employer. You pay taxes like Social Security for them, etc., even without being formally a company. It is not common. It is not. And when you do want to hire someone, it's highly recommended that you do set up a company for various other reasons. But technically, you can employ someone without being a company.
And that can be legal. That is not
from a legal perspective. Yeah, this is from a legal perspective and a tax perspective. We can do that, and it's just maybe not a good idea, but it's doable. But in terms of then issuing the receipt, that receipt that you issue to someone, that's what they need. So if I pay you for a service, you need to issue me a receipt with my tax ID and your tax ID. That's like the key thing. And unlike in other jurisdictions where a receipt can just be a piece of paper, in Portugal, that receipt, those tax numbers are certified, they're verified, because the invoicing system or your receipt will be a digital one, and the tax office will receive a copy of that. And so there's no way if those numbers don't work, it's going to be a problem. And so that's really all you need, right? You can start your yoga classes, you can get your first customers, you can brand, you can do the marketing, you can do everything. And then when you get paid for the first time, or you were about to get paid, you issue the receipt, you register, you do all the process. But I would say, make sure you have the tax number and you have the login to the portal beforehand, and then the rest will be easy. Once you've registered and you open your activity as a freelancer, there will be automated communication to the Social Security here, okay, informing them that you have been now registered. Years ago, you would have to do that separately. Today, the tax office will do that. You will get in your registered address a letter from the Social Security telling you that they have received communication that you've opened your activity, and that you're very likely eligible for 12 months of exemption. As a freelancer, anyone who registers the first 12 months, you get an exemption from paying Social Security, which is really nice, right? And so usually when that expires, then you get another notification from them saying now you're going to start to pay Social Security, and you can choose, it depends on your income level from the previous month, and you can choose to pay a little bit more or a little bit less than what you actually earned. To give you, the choice, like, because this gives you an employment benefits or an injury benefit. So if you get sick or if you get out of a job, then what you get paid by the Social Security is dependent on how much you've been paying. So if you pay a little bit more than you actually earned, then you get also paid a little bit more if you do have an unemployment or injury sort of situation.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Natalie, for asking first question. And we have also one question in our chat, and I can mention that everyone who is here can ask the question.
Accelerators, yeah, I was seeing. That's a great question. So there's two things. One, of course, you have founders. That's one of them. You could absolutely go and talk and see if there's a fit. I can give you some of the largest ones, depending on where you are. So in Porto, you have UP Tech is one of the largest ones, and they are by far the most mature, and they also usually get people from the beginning of a project. Like founders, for example, as a community, is more geared towards people who already have a company and they're in a different stage. If you just have an idea, UPTech is a better one. In Lisbon, some of the largest ones are Beta I. I don't know if they still do a lot of it. These are the ones I remember. The Startup Lisboa, which is an incubation program, very famous. They're great, really, really good. Then there's co-working spaces, which are different, right? They're Beta I and Startup Lisboa are incubation and acceleration processes. There is a network. Try to think of the name. I think it's RNI. RNI is the Portuguese network of incubators. And so let me see if I can find their rni.pt, I think. Yes. So I'm going to copy paste it here as well. This is where you can find the list of, I'm hoping they've got an English version, by the way. I'm just looking at it. It seems to only be in Portuguese, but they should have a list of all the incubators in the country. It won't tell you which ones are nicer, but you have the list of incubators in the country.
And I can add also that on our event this Friday, we had Patricia, who is a communication manager of Startup Portugal.
Startup,
and,
she'll be a great person for that.
Said that, she said that she also can provide the access to more than 150 incubators and accelerators through the whole Portugal. And Alessia, if you need some specific, I don't know, topic of your business, and tell me please in direct mail, and I can help you also maybe with connecting you to Patricia and to choose the proper one for your business.
Yeah, there are many. You just got to be aware there are many of them, and that means a lot of them, they're not really incubators. They're just office spaces. Okay, so, and I am on the record saying this, and I'm comfortable saying it because we are in the community, we see that, but they're they also give you some network for sure. And I think the ones in Lisbon, the true incubators and accelerators are very, very good. They're amazing.
And yesterday I was invited and visited the event monthly meetup of Startup Portugal. It was interesting, and for our community, I can tell that if you need something in startup ecosystem, please tell me that I will connect you with this.
It may be, and it may be worth mentioning there are sometimes regions in the country that the city hall will have a program. Okay, like recently we've been running like Founders has actually been running an acceleration program for the city hall of Barcelos. Okay, and so it's free for the entrepreneurs. There's no charge, and they have they basically, it's the city hall that get services from founders, and they get an acceleration program. And you have access to the network, you have events, there's a lot of stuff, there's office space, I think, as well, they can provide, and they're all, to promote the attraction of people to be centered in Barcelos specifically, which is a smaller town, but, very large, relatively large compared to, that's not a very small town. So watch out for those. If you're in an area that is not Porto or Lisbon, or you want to be, or it's, you're open to move to those areas, maybe that's a good opportunity. Find which ones you'll have. The only one I remember right now is the Barcelos one, but then I'm sure there are others in the country that run these programs. So there was a question on freelance income coming from abroad. I am not a tax expert. Okay, so everything I'm saying here, I say it with moderation, and it's my perception. Okay, so always check for details, but it is my understanding that if you work, or if you are residing 183 days, or 183 days in Portugal, then you really should be paying taxes and being registered for work in Portugal. It doesn't matter who pays you. It matters where you are residing. It can be a US company, it could be a German company, it could be a Indian company. It doesn't really matter. And I've been in that situation personally in the beginning as well. I was working for UK companies and German companies and some of the US. It doesn't matter where the income comes from. It matters where you are. And in that perspective, the difference is when you get paid in Portugal, the receipts that you issue will have the Portuguese tax code for the entities. When you issue a receipt for a company abroad, you're not going to have that tax number. So the traditional receipts that you issue as a freelancer may not work. Okay, you may have to do something else, and usually people will get an invoicing software. That's the first time you'll probably need invoicing software, but there are some free ones as well. But they have to be certified for the Portuguese tax system. Okay, like QuickBooks will not work. I'll tell you straight away. But you have some Portuguese versions of invoicing software that are cheap or free that you can use. And with those, you issue an invoice like a company would, but it has your tax number, and then you put in the details of the company that that you worked for, and they they pay you, and then in your tax declaration, next year, because you'll do the tax declaration of this year, you're going to do that next year. When you do that next year, you literally say, okay, I received this amount from a company from the US. And there's in the tax returns, there's a specific location for foreign income, and you fill in with the country where that income came from. I don't think it goes to the company name. It just goes all the income together that you got from US companies. You put in the amount. Remember, the amounts are euro amounts, that are not dollars. So even if the company pays you in dollars, your receipt will be in euros. Okay, you can have a dollar amount equivalent, but for tax purposes, that is in euros. So when you do the tax returns, you put in the euro amount, and the taxes are calculated. Your income and your taxes are calculated including that amount. Okay. The second thing you have to make sure is that the country you're issuing the income to, is that you don't live there as well, and if you don't move there, and if you do, you have to figure out if you have to pay taxes in both countries. But if you're only here, you should only have to pay taxes here. Most countries will have a double taxation agreement, meaning that both countries agreed with each other that you don't have to pay taxes in both countries. But not all countries have that. I know that I think the US has it, European countries all have it, but check if you have a slightly different country, you have to check if there's a double taxation agreement. Mm-hmm. That's as far as I know, okay? I'm sure more exceptions to this, but this is what I know.
Mm-hmm. So please, guys, if you have more questions, don't be shy to ask and to describe what your business challenges have challenges, and you can receive the help just now. And while someone is gonna ask, I have my own question. Tell me, please, if I am a startup and I need to find maybe mentor or business angel, what should I do? How can you help?
It's a good question. You ask, maybe that's an easy one. You ask me, and then I'll figure out something. It may be that there is an obvious person in the founders community that can help, and I'll just put you in touch. If you're looking for financing, so if you're a business angel looking for financing, it may be that we know some of the business angels that are investing in that sector or that area. So it depends a lot on the idea and the project that you want to start. But I think that's the easiest one. Write it down on a small text. What is the idea? What the stage is, and what do you think you need? Send it to me, and I'll see if I can find someone to help. Or worst case scenario, I'll say I have no idea who can help you. But then I'll ask our community. I'll put the message out to the community and say, does anyone think can help this particular project? Mm-hmm. That's the easiest way to help.
Yes, thank you. And as I saw your presentation, you are the one who raised some huge sum of money. Yes, please
Not
more
that
about this.
not that much. There's a lot of people in the founders community that raised a lot more money than I have. Yeah, for sure.
Remind me the amount.
I actually don't know. It's been I've run a couple of companies, so I think we've all added that together. I think in there we've listed. Let me go back. I think it was 2.5 million that we raised so far personally. So it's really not that much. Like I know that, for example, InfraSpeak has already raised a few rounds over 5 million by now, I think. So for sure, there's TalkVest that they're $1 billion company now. So there's way more people that have done that. But I can certainly help you in the process, especially if it's the early stage of the process. I can definitely help think through how do you present. It's one of the biggest things we do for the founders community is if you really want to go for venture capital investment, you put your presentation together, short one, and then we can pitch to me. I can invite a few people, and you pitch to 5 or 10 people, and then you give you feedback. So it helps you prepare before you go and talk to real investors.
Mm-hmm. And as far as I know, a lot of our startups still don't know how to do this documentation correctly. Probably you or your community can help with that, providing some examples, what are good, what are not. Don't do like that, but do like this.
Yeah, certainly there are examples, but it's always dependent on the project. So there's an easy template that goes roughly like this. Who are you? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, why you? You. The first thing is you're selling yourself or your team. What is the problem? And the real problem, okay? And the biggest flaws we see in pitches are you start talking about the solution immediately. So you go, okay, I'm Paulo, and we have office. Like if I was selling founders in the wrong way, I'd say I'm Paulo, and we're founders, and we have 20 office spaces of 500 square meters each, and they cost like that's really not the right pitch. The right pitch is we're founders, and there's a problem in Portugal. People don't talk to each other. The network, the community doesn't exist. Entrepreneurs have a problem. They need help, and they can't find the answer. And the best answer is to knock on your neighbor's door and ask him for help. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't exist. So we've created a space where you can go in and knock. That's how you present. You talk about the problem. You talk about how your solution is different from any other one and why you or your team is the best to solve for that problem. And then you go, how big is the problem? Right? And you go, okay, in Portugal, if I said there were 10 entrepreneurs, they're like, well, that's not a real problem, right? If you say there's, potentially 200,000 entrepreneurs, okay, that's a problem that is big enough because investors, they need scale, right? It only makes sense to grow a lot if you have a market to grow. And where are you in that process? Oh, we haven't started, we need this. And so, okay, we need 500,000 euros to hire 2 people to get this space done. And we think with this amount of money, we will get to this milestone, which is to have our first 5 customers paying X amount. And this will prove that the business model works. And that's the key. Whatever is the milestone, whatever is the next step, if you're in the beginning, it has always to be about proving that the business model that you have works. It's not about scaling. It's not about, I'm going to sell 20 million. It's, I'm going to do the minimum amount of work that can prove that my model works. So for example, for Natalie, I was talking about yoga classes. I would say, you need financing to get equipment. Let's go with that. Okay. To prove that your model works, you need, okay, with this minimum amount of equipment and logistics, you are going to talk to 100 companies, and your expectation is that 20 will want to do this. And out of the 20, 10 are going to say yes, and out of the 10, 5 will start classes in the next 3 months. And that's your milestone. And to achieve that, you need something. That's how you would always present it. It doesn't matter what the business is. This template of structure, usually work. There are exceptions, but usually this works really well. The exceptions is when you have to talk about competition and you're really trying to do something extremely expensive and innovative. Then you have to explain why you need 20 million, and it's going to be, that's a different sort of level, right? But everything else, this model works pretty well.
Okay, so you say how much money do you need? Why?
Yes.
And what should you say also when this money will return and all this?
If you're a true startup, like if you really want to go and grow, in the beginning, it's too early to answer that question, right? So it's not said, oh yeah, you're gonna get 2 times your return on your investment. It's like I've never seen anyone as an investor in the early stage really make any judgment on that part of the equation, because it's too early. How do you know, really? No one knows. If you're really trying to go for scale. So what you do know is you have an hypothesis, and if you can prove that out of the 100 companies, 50 are interested, then that's huge, because there are hundreds of thousands of companies. If you follow that percentage, your market can be incredible. As an investor, in my head, I can make the math and think, okay, if you can grow to, sell to 1,000 companies, this business will grow this way. You can have a financial projection sheet. It's always nice if you hit that milestone, then the next stage will be to higher sales, higher marketing, higher operations, and you grow that. Of course, you can do that. But to be honest, in the early stage, it's an Excel file, and they all look the same. It's like that, and it's a hockey stick. It goes up. Everyone does the exact same thing. It's an idea. It's not. I don't think in the beginning is that relevant. But that's my personal opinion.
That is the round called pre-seed, yes. But if your business on the seed round, you should know these numbers, right?
In the seed round, even then, this is my personal opinion, right? You're going to have an Excel file that is going to show you that you're going to get 5, 10, 20x your return. And everyone is going to say the same thing. To me, it doesn't really matter, because the only thing that matters is, can you believe that the hockey stick growth is going to exist? And the reason to believe in it is about the process you're running to make sure you can achieve it. And the process is about, are you going to test it, right? And to me, if someone says something like, oh, I'm just going to go and I'm going to sell a lot, that's not a process. That's just wishful thinking, right? So the process is, I'm going to test it with 1 or 2. Once I have 1 or 2, then I'll spend more because I've validated, and once I got from 3 to 10, dialed another stage. And if you show me that, then okay, you have a process. That like has more chance of succeed.
Sorry, that is like step-by-step plan, you mean, right?
Yes, it doesn't have to be what you're going to do in 10 years. It's about, the milestones for your particular business. For the yoga classes, say, I'm going to go 5, and it's going to be in a particular, and thinking also, how do you scale? For example, so if I was trying to scale Natalie's business, I would say, you start regionally. You don't try to go classes in Porto, Lisbon, and then go to Madrid. That's not going to work, I think. But if you go, I'm going to start in one particular town, in Porto, I'll start there. I'm going to get, there's 100 companies there that fit the type of company that this could be sold to. I'm going to go and talk to 50 of them. And once I get 20 companies doing this in Porto, I'm going to scale this through a yoga, how are they going to service this? I'm going to hire yoga teachers, and you're going to prove that the market right now needs a lot of, or there's a lot of people that could do yoga classes, that could teach, then that they're all out of a job. So it's a perfect scenario. You can hire all of them because they're all out of a job. And so you can show that. And then your scale is, I'm going to go town by town. So next is going to be Lisbon, and next is going to be Madrid, and then I'll go to Barcelona, and then we'll see. And go, this is my scale model. So how is the model? And for each town, you're going to go into marketing, and you're going to do find the people to do the teaching that are local. You're going to find how to, and then you find the space, and then you do that town by town and how fast you can grow. That's the model. That's exactly how Uber did it. Uber went, I'm going to go to that town, I'm going to that town, I'm going to that. That's, if you're a regional or local business, that's how you then show how you scale. Or you say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to turn this into a franchise, right? And that's the model. I'll compile the book of operations. I'll demonstrate that the book is profitable, and then I'll sell that as a franchise. Method the host exactly did that process, right? It's all a franchise. There are many ways and business models, and then you're going to have those questions, right? People are going to say, well, that has been tried. How are you going to compete with the existing players in the market? So you need to know who the players in the market. So Natalie, I think if you're looking for that particular business, you should look for who's already doing it, right? Who's already providing that sort of service in the market, and maybe get in touch with them and talk to them and say, even to start out, say, do you need someone to teach yoga to begin with? You don't need to set up the whole thing. You just start and you get the contacts, right? You start to teach. And if you really then want to run a business, then you go, okay, now maybe you feel really good and they like you. Why, offer a partnership? If that company is already selling those services to those clients, you don't always have to compete. You can go and, okay, you say to them after 2 months, I want a piece of this. I want to grow this with you. And there are many ways. A worst case scenario, you've learned a lot about the business, risk-free, because you didn't have to do anything except do your teaching. Maybe you didn't make as much money, but at least you'll be in the market and learn about it before you take the step to set up a business.
Yeah, thank you very much. Guys, probably we will have the last question is if you have it, then ask, because I guess 1 hour is the best period to do this meeting, and I really appreciate your time and that you.
It's the least I can do, and even if you don't or don't want to, or if you can't ask all your questions today, send them over, and I'll make sure to try to find someone who can answer. If I can't, try to help myself. Okay.
Yeah, and also, guys, I can connect you after with Paulo for your to communicate directly. Yes.
Absolutely.
So I guess no one has a question.
Yeah, I have a question, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Hi, guys. First of all, thank you for your time, and we appreciate your help, Paulo. My name is Elena, and I've been in the crypto space for a long time, and we have a successful company in Ukraine. So what we do, we issue Visa and MasterCards, which you can use as a payment kit for spending crypto. So actually, you can pay with crypto everywhere where Visa and Master accepted. So, and now in Lisbon, I saw you have like a huge crypto community.
Yep.
And also like huge crypto penetration is almost 9% of all the people using crypto, or at least have some crypto. And yeah, we are in thoughts to move our company also here and let's say to cover also this market.
Yep.
And my question is to you, do you have someone in your community of your members who are also deep in crypto and can
of
I don't
course
know, help somehow?
Well, have you heard of Anchorage, for example?
No,
Anchorage I think was the first crypto bank in the world. They're big in the US, so they started in the US, but the founders here as well. So he's one of them. We can introduce you to Diogo. There's another company called Subvisual. For me, they're developing a lot of the technology for crypto. So those would be the two contacts, and I can put you in touch with them for sure.
Amazing, would be great. And my question is also about some kind of communication and connection to the crypto. So I would like to establish a kind of crypto association here. And maybe you have some direct connections to the government or to local people in Lisbon, for example. Because I would like to lead this direction and to talk maybe directly to the government about some kind of let's say crypto unique park with special technologies and community behind it, because from Ukraine there moved a lot of people with big companies. So I know 3 of unicorn companies here in the crypto. So let's try to do some great.
Yeah, absolutely. So these 2 companies that I'm talking about, I should introduce you to, specifically even Subvisual. They're big enough that there's a big crypto group here, Subvisual, Encourage, and others in Utrust. That was the other one. Sorry, Utrust, which is also a payment company. They're all up north here in Porto and Braga, and they're part of our community. And if anyone has access and can talk to anyone, I think it needs to be as a group. So with these people together with you, I think that'll be something very interesting. And then any advice for government relationships to startups, Startup Portugal is the right organization. And so those people are the ones I go to when I want to get in touch with someone in government, or we need to facilitate something, because they are a government-run organization. They are one of the best to do the link between the community of startups and founders and the government itself. So, and you already in this group already have that, and I know you had a session with them, so you have their contacts. That's the right group to go and talk to get anything to do with the government, in my view. That's what I would do. I'll get you in touch with them. So this is the right.
Yeah, I tried to touch with you while LinkedIn. So please, if you have time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course. I'm sorry if I didn't. My LinkedIn is many times full of connections that I don't. Okay.
Okay, thank
absolutely.
you.
Okay, guys.
Thank you, Irina.
Yeah, thank you for questions, and thank you, Paulo, for your time and answers. It was a pleasure to have this meeting, and I guess we will stay in touch and
of course
connect you directly with the guys who will need the help.
Let's do it.
We can finish this fabulous meeting.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone, and I hope we can find ways to help you as much as we can.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day too. Bye-bye.
Bye.